This episode of the ABIC podcast is brought to you by Elleebana. Hello and welcome to the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we're strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is the ABIC podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Miller, and today's guest is Otto from Elleebana. Otto's journey in the beauty industry is one of inspiration. He is a multi-award-winning lash and brow educator, product developer, cosmetic chemist, and brand builder with a career that spans over 2 decades. Highly passionate about product ingredients, research and development, and ongoing education, Otto is the innovator for the world-famous Elleebana one-shot lash lift system, Elleeplex Profusion System, Elleeplex ReGEN, and Elleebana Brow Henna, as well as co-producer of the Belmacil Lash and Brow Tinting System. Otto's busy schedule sees him touring to speak at exhibitions, conferences, and judge at competitions all around the world. And he's a leading authority when it comes to technical support in the area of lash and brow lamination and coloration. Otto continues to extend the boundaries of product development within the world of beauty and works in collaboration with world leaders in cosmetic manufacturing and personal care formulation. Otto received the 2019 Product Integrity Award from the National Association of Lash Artists and was winner of the 2020 Product Integrity Award at the Global NALA Awards, respectively. Over the last few years, Elleebana has been presented with over 21 awards for product innovation and excellence in the world of education. Otto has a passion for continuing education, working with leaders in the industry and dedicating his time to help up-and-coming beauty therapists, lash artists, and educators develop their profiles and careers. Here to share an exclusive behind-the-scenes look and unveil the secrets of lash and brow product innovation. From Elleebana, today we welcome Otto Mitter. Welcome to the podcast, Otto. How are you today?
I am so well, Steph. Thank you for having me again. I always enjoy our chats so much, and it's a real pleasure to be here.
Well, I always enjoy our chats too. They're super exciting because I absolutely love your stories. I'm obsessed with them because, of course, you have such an incredible history with the beauty industry in Australia and such a beautiful heritage to you. And I think all of our listeners really appreciate that richness that comes out of you and your storytelling as well, which leads me to, when we start, we always ask the same question, and we've asked this of you before, but how did you enter the professional beauty industry, Otto?
Yes. Well, I have to thank my family and my mother for that one. Some people listening to this may have heard the story before, but you might have some new listeners there. And I'm a second generation beauty educator, and my mother actually wrote the very first diploma of beauty therapy in Australia. So that was a monumental achievement, obviously. And of course, it's been developed more over the years. But when she started out in the industry, there was no formal qualifications at all for beauty therapists. And she had a very successful salon and a school where they were teaching beautification and slimming treatments and those sorts of things. She had a hairdressing salon in there as well. And I used to run around the place. I was the little guy. Actually, the story is when I was born, she brought me back from the hospital and I was in the little bassinet under the massage table. So one day I will write a book Tales from Under the Massage Table, but that's coming. Stay tuned for that one. But yeah, look, I've just grown up in the industry surrounded by educators because she had a very big beauty school. I went and studied there myself when I left high school. Did my Cert 4 in makeup, modules of the Diploma of Beauty Therapy. I went off and studied business marketing, and I did my TAE, so foreign training and assessment, and then of course trained with a lot of lash and brow educators around the world, a lot of leading lash extensions masters and brow designers, people like that in the industry, because I was really fascinated with lashes and brows, and my mother also had this business on the side from the school, which was developing and distributing eyelash tinting products. And she actually was doing eyelash perming as well in the very beginning, which is going back nearly 30 years ago, believe it or not. That's how time flies and how long it's been around for. But yeah, I then went on to study my diploma in personal care formulation, and just, getting a better insight really into the industry and how to create products from the ground up. And, we've just been working and working and working on that. And long story short, here we are now. So in the industry over the years, we've been involved in a lot of different developments in various facets of the industry, and of course internationally as well. So there's just a lot happens in 30 years.
A lot. And I tell you what, I mean, because you're a dedicated, altruistic ABIC member and you support the Aesthetic and Beauty Industry Council because it supports the industry, and you're such a generous, right from the very beginning, you started, becoming a foundation member and really giving us the support we need to be able to really uplift the industry. Now, you were just talking about your mum being the very first person to write the Diploma of Beauty Therapy, and we've been talking about the new ABS review and the threats to the beauty industry and qualifications and occupations. And if you're out there and you haven't heard about it, there is an article all about it. And thank you so much for supporting us in our endeavor to be able to correctly identify the qualifications and occupations that exist, because Elleebana is supporting us in that as well and providing us incredible data. So for someone like you who's seen the history and been involved in the process of building this, I mean, the changes in our industry are mind-blowing, right?
They sure are. They really, really are. It's such a interesting thing to witness and observe, I guess, over the years. I've been in the industry solidly for 20 years, and it has changed quite a lot with regulations and developments. And obviously things need to be done and said, and that's why you're here and your team, and you do an incredible job of flying the flag for our industry and making sure that salons and therapists and everyone in our industry is getting a fair shot, basically, and that all facts are considered there. I remember at one stage, eyelash tinting in Australia was going to be banned for beauty therapists. And I'll just go down a trip down memory lane for you quickly. But my mother and myself and Lee Blackett from Refectacil at the time worked very closely with each other and the government to petition and put in a submission for beauty therapists to allow them to continue to do eyelash tinting, because the government was going to say beauty therapists couldn't do tinting, but they were going to still allow it for sale in Woolworths and department stores, and allow
Wow.
the general public to do tinting at home. Now, how crazy is that? For any beauty therapist here that's listening to that story, you know how much we train when we go to school and master our art of, doing these services, and how seriously we take the applications for client safety, especially. And the government was willing to let the public do it at home, but yet stop beauty therapists doing it. So we had to do a lot of research, get a lot of data, similar to what we were just speaking about before, and put that submission together to show that what the stats were on people actually having any problems with the treatments or having reactions. And in the hands of a qualified therapist, it's very, very minimal. And So that was important, showing them the stats of that, and then also the stats of how it helps the economy and helps beauty therapists. Lash and brow tinting is a huge benefit for so many beauty salons out there because it's a great add-on. It obviously doesn't cost too much per treatment. Of course, there's time involved in the service, but it's a fantastic add-on that makes a great difference to your facials and, of course, lash lifting and those sorts of things. And it's a huge part of the industry. And I often think, imagine if therapists here were not allowed to do eyelash tinting. And I could say, well, it's okay. You're welcome. We helped with that one. Not many people probably that are coming into the industry now know about that story,
No.
but Reflectosil and ourselves really spearheaded that submission and put a lot of work into it. And, we had to go and sit on the board and obviously have meetings with the government and get that over the line. And then they passed it through, and the new labeling laws came into effect through the TGA, and we obviously follow those labeling guidelines now on all tinting products in Australia, so that they're correctly labeled and people know how to use them correctly, and the correct warnings and all that sort of thing. But education is still so important, and we focus on that a lot at Elleebana. But it's interesting how the industry evolves. I guess that's where I was going with that little story.
That story really reflects exactly what's happening now in the industry and the danger that we face, that beauty therapists might not be able to do all the treatments, all the dermal treatments that they're currently doing. That's currently under threat, and you're now part of the movement again to try to talk to government and say, actually, no, that's not the case. We really support our beauty therapists and their qualifications and their expertise. So you're on the forefront of the fight again. Thank you so much for supporting us. But you were talking about the formulation and what you did, and then the labeling of it all. Today we're going behind the scenes of Elleebana to really take a walk through the process, the magic, peek up behind the curtain and see what happens in such an incredible and huge, I think you're the biggest of your kind that actually does those services in the world.
From being in the industry for so long and obviously being at the forefront of the lash lift movement and a few other things that we've been doing, heavily involved in tinting and coloration over the years as well, I would say we'd be definitely up there as one of the most popular brands in the world. We've definitely influenced a lot of brands around the world. And we started in Australia, of course, and we produce a lot of our products here as well. We do use contract manufacturers overseas as well for some of our lines. But, in Australia, we have a GMP facility here at HQ. So we do filling and production, and, we can go into that as well. But yeah, it's interesting. I think we're definitely up there with one of the most popular brands. I don't think there's many lash lift brands around the world that have 300 educators around the world, and we distribute to 60 countries around the world. And heavily invested in USA, in Europe, Latin America, in Asia, Middle East, obviously Australia and New Zealand. It's quite an incredible reach that we have, where there's not many other brands that have been able to do that on that level. And to be an Australian brand as well, it's a bit of a warm, fuzzy feeling. I have to admit, some days we kind of pinch ourselves and go, we're actually doing this. These people around the world are supporting us. USA really took me under their wing. Have been working over there for over 10 years now, doing a lot of events and classes and, getting on stage, speaking at exhibitions, those sorts of things. And the secret sauce, let's face it, has always been, who is that guy from Australia talking about lashes? And what would he know? I better go and listen. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's not the secret sauce. The secret sauce is actually the people that we've cultivated in this community. And we have these amazing products that have really set a benchmark. They work really well. But the community that we have established, I think, has really set us apart. And we're very, aware of that, and we nurture that a lot. So it's a big part of building a global brand is having your global community and getting all of those parts right.
Mm.
When it all comes together, and it's a lot of management. My job every day is so diverse. I do a lot of the product development and a lot of the marketing and a lot of the vision and direction with the company with my
Mm.
wife, Zoe, as well. She's actually the CEO now, and I'm just like the director guy, but I'm the owner director. But I do work heavily behind the scenes and on the front lines as well, doing the classes still, the master classes. We just came back from New Zealand on the weekend and did a fantastic event at Park Hyatt with and at the Elite School of Beauty, some specialized master classes. And we're doing these all around the world.
Let's deep dive behind the scenes of Elleebana. I really, really would love to know the process. How do you actually go about developing a new product within your range?
Ooh, that's got a lot of answers to it. And I guess, it starts with the vision, as any new product does. You have to obviously look at the needs of our clients and the market and the trends. We analyze a lot of that first to see, is this viable, and is this something that would fit in the range, and does it have purpose and value for our clients? We have learnt a lot over the years about jumping on trends, and trends are very important, but I've been there and released products before that were trending and they didn't really have the sustainability, in the industry for salon owners. They were good. They had, potential, but maybe the longevity of the treatment didn't last long enough for the amount of time that it takes to apply it. Things like that, where beauty therapists feel, look, I love the result you can get with this, but I need it to last longer. So it has to have the viability, first of all. And then it would really depend on the type of product that we're making. So we make obviously cosmetic style products, lotions, serums, those sorts of things, which have a whole set of rules and regulations that we follow with compliance globally and GMP procedures, etc., which I could go into. But then we might also have tools that we develop, like the precision lifter tool, which is an innovative tool that Lash lift stylists use. It's a Japanese grade stainless steel, gold plated, but it's got this special comb on it with special teeth that have been designed in the comb for separating very fine lashes, something like that. And then an isolator tool on the other side, and then the packaging and everything that comes with that. It's all aluminium composite, so it's recyclable, things like that as well. So, that tool that might take us months and months to make. But obviously, if you're making a cosmetic product that's a lotion, and we're testing, for the efficacy and all the research of that, you've got all your testing that's involved with that, compliance testing, stability testing, PET testing, everything that we have to do to make sure that it ticks all the boxes there. And then, the product efficacy testing and performance side of it as well, which, we could go into further. But, I think, how long does it take to release a new product, and how do we develop a new product?
Mm.
It really just depends on the type of product it is. But generally at Elleebana, it can take a while because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I don't want to release something out there that doesn't represent us well and represent our clients and salon partners well. We want them to offer a service, obviously, to their clients that their clients love and that will keep coming back for more. That's what we're in the business of doing. All of us are doing that. And we have to help each other. So, that is just the crucial element, really, of getting it right, I guess,
Mm.
in inverted commas, is the product has to be done really well for it to fly. So,
You were talking about all the stages of it, of course, very familiar with those, but maybe our listeners are not as familiar with those stages. But let's start. You flag GMP. Let's start with GMP. It's very important because not all
yes.
manufacturing facilities are created equal.
Mm,
There are, believe it or not, a really a lot of specific requirements to become a GMP manufacturer.
Oh,
Give us
yes.
some of the highlights and some of the audits
Oh,
that you go
uh,
through.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I think Zoe definitely and myself probably pulled each other's hair out a few times getting our very first certification and audit. Look, it's about procedures and obviously making sure that you follow those procedures and put everything into place. But yeah, we have some big GMP compliance manuals just sitting right next to my desk over there that we
Big ones, I
have
assume.
very handy. And of course, everything's, on our drive and digitized these days. I often think, how do people do this without digital spreadsheets and a matrix essentially to be able to keep all the links and things together so you can access all the information for the auditors? That must have been an absolute nightmare. But yeah, look, we are regularly audited, I should say, from SGS for our GMP compliance. And GMP compliance is all about the traceability and the quality of products and the quality of the procedures that we use when we're making those products. So, for example, every single ingredient that we use in a formula must have a certificate of analysis just for that raw material from our supplier. And our supplier also has to have an SDS for that single ingredient. For example, thioglycolic acid, we need a certificate of analysis just for that material, the SDS for that material, the batch number, the traceability, and the certification from them as well, that they are meeting GMP certification requirements. And we also need to have agreements in place with all of our suppliers that are very steadfast and strict agreements that obviously have the product specs and guidelines of the materials in there that they have to provide to us every single time. And if they don't meet those requirements, the product just goes back to them and it can't be accepted. So there's a very strict process there with all of the suppliers and getting the materials. And then of course, when we're making a product, you've got all your sanitation and sterilization and, cleaning procedures with all the equipment, all the stuff. We've got the hair nets, the gloves, the white lab coats, the stainless steel benches, all the procedures for that are, in place. And of course, all the training has to take place for all of the team members. I was in charge of doing all of that. It was a huge job,
Happy
and
days.
Zoe
Yeah,
as
that's
well,
a big
helping
one.
compile, all of the manuals and then the training and competency that has to be signed off on for all of the team members in production and even members that might be going through production. They have to be aware that it's a GMP facility and they have to know what rules need to be followed and procedures, etc., signing in, signing out of visitors, all that sort of stuff. But then all the machines, have to be annually checked and audited as well. What else? All the equipment, every single little piece of that puzzle has to be signed off on to say that it meets the standards of producing a product. And then it comes to the part where you get to produce the product. And then when you're doing that, obviously you've got a lot of strenuous testing that you have to follow and procedures there with checking the weights, for example, of the product at the beginning. Yeah, did the machine calibrate correctly? Have we got the right calibration procedures in place? Does everyone know how to do that and check that? Okay, so we've calibrated, we've filled. Yes, that meets the correct weight. Then you do a few more fills, you test again. Yes, that's meeting the correct weight. And then at the end, so you're doing that at variables throughout the fill. And then, of course, at the end, signing off, with a report to say, yes, we have met all of those requirements there. Everything ticks all the boxes and went as planned, and then we also have to have strict batch recording and obviously traceability measures in place there for
Cool.
everything that's made, and every single product in our warehouse and factory has to be in a zone, that's on a floor map so that every single person knows where that product should be. Raw materials have to be separated from finished products. There is just so many things that happen in the GMP side of things to make sure that the quality is there with the product.
Since 1995, Elleebana has been a pioneering force in the lash and brow enhancement industry. With the renowned Elleebana Lash Lift and Elleeplex Profusion ranges, their products are exported to over 60 countries worldwide. Australian-born and globally loved, Elleebana is a multi-award-winning brand celebrated for its product innovation and educational excellence. At Elleebana, product integrity and innovation are at the heart of their success. They continuously push the boundaries of treatment evolution, setting trends and influencing global markets. They are passionate about education and committed to giving back to the industry. As a proud ABIC member, sponsor and supporter of numerous global beauty events and competitions, their focus is on helping emerging therapists develop their careers in the beauty industry. Their story is simple. They love lashes and brows. To learn more, visit www.elleebana.com today.
But then when we finish an actual product, we then send that to Eurofins, which is one of the most recognized and trusted and accredited laboratories in Australia that work for pharmaceutical companies, big cosmetic brands. They do all of our testing with stability testing, certificates of analysis on the final product. So every single lash lift lotion or serum that we make has to be tested for pH, and it has to meet those parameters. It has to be tested for viscosity and making sure that the CPS units are in the correct parameters and it's the right viscosity, it's the right thickness, the appearance is there, it smells right, it looks right, and there's no micro in there that we have to worry about, and bacteria, the levels are obviously safe with all of that. Your stability testing is like a minimum 12 weeks is what's required in certain areas, but then you have to do real-time stability and accelerated stability on all of the products as well to determine your shelf life, obviously, and to determine that the emulsifiers are working well within the formula and it's not separating, making sure that it works well in different humidity and temperatures around the world. Our products get sold in Singapore and they get sold in Sweden, so in Sweden, it's cold most of the year. Or Iceland. We actually supply Iceland. And they are crushing it at the moment. I will say that. Just a word up for Iceland. She is doing so well. And you just think, Iceland? What do they do up there? I've never been there.
Great lashes.
Beauty is going well in Iceland. Let me tell you that. It's great. So your product has to be stable in all these areas around the world in different humidities. So we do various stability testing on that. And then after all of that, we do our product efficacy testing for actually making sure it performs as it says it's going to do on lashes, for example. So we have a lot of clinical trials that we do on lots of models, and there's a bare minimum, I think, of 30 models that we have to do for certain new types of products that haven't been tested before. We have
but
a
if I know
minimum
you, will be a
requirement
lot
there.
more than 30 models.
It is a lot more than 30. That's right.
That's
of course.
I suppose that's the benchmark that you want to achieve. But I know you and the reach that you have, and it will be a lot more than 30 out there. I mean, people listen, they're like, oh, they're only 30. Actually, that's a really good sample size, by the way.
Yeah, that is to do 30 treatments and get just for an initial test, right? This is the initial test to see, okay, did that curl the lashes on these different types of hair texture? And then from there, that's just the initial kind of development of a product to say, yeah, that's kind of working. Then you do a pilot batch, and then that gets sent out for clinical trials to many people that help us with testing as well, like salon partners as well. So we do our due diligence ourselves, but we also want to get market feedback, because that's really important, just to get that validity, I guess, that validation that, oh yeah, we're happy with this too. Your tests have shown that we're getting the same kind of results. And our testing forms are very regimented, with case study before and after photos, analyzation of lash texture, obviously pH, appearance of the product, the depth of curl, the longevity of the result as well to see how it goes. So we check in on the models, the day after, and then a week later, and then 14 days later. And so this process that we go through, it's huge. And then of course, we did the certificates of analysis, sorry, of all those things that we did. And so we know that, the product specs are there, specs meet what they say they're going to do, but the actual results are performing how they should as well. That gives you a bit of a snapshot anyway on just how much of a process it is when you're developing a product here at Elleebana and making sure that it flies and flies well, and that people are going to be happy with it.
When you pick up a bottle of Elleebana, you will actually now, after hearing this podcast, understand the care, the love, the time, the effort, the expertise, and the rigorous testing that this product goes through before it actually gets into your hands, and know that before it's in your hands, it's probably gone out at a test and done a pilot, which not many companies actually do. They release a small batch and pilot the actual product,
Mhm.
a small amount of real life sample size. That's huge, the fact that you do that, because you actually
Mm.
get some incredible feedback when you do that, and you can actually tweak and improve the product. I mean, you're doing it right. Obviously, everything that you said is beautiful. I'm in love with your standards. They're the ideal, right? So a lot
Yep,
of
yep.
people
That's what
listening
you
out
have to
there going,
shoot
"Oh,
for.
is that what everyone does?" No, it's not what everyone does. It's what the top echelon of companies do, is follow those practices. So when it comes to ingredients, you were talking about your certificates of analysis, you were talking about your supplies, you were talking about the ingredient houses. This is what, as a therapist, pricks your ear up and you think, okay, how are they sourcing the ingredients? What are the incredible new ingredients that have come out? How do you even find them? What type of research goes into all of this to actually
Mhm.
get the results for us?
Yes, well, can I give all my secrets
Oh, you
away?
can't.
No, of course. No, I mean, I obviously did my formulation training, and through that training, I did learn a lot about where to source great raw materials. And of course, I'm a little bit of a nerd with some of that. And, signed up to Prospector and signed up with a lot of raw material suppliers, emails, EDMs that are coming out with the latest types of materials and ingredients for formulations. I'm particularly interested in the hair industry, and hair care formulations. That's kind of our focus. And so we look at a lot of materials there that will benefit and strengthen hair after chemical treatments. And, one of our key products, ReGEN, which is a aftercare product. Well, it's actually a step 3 deep conditioning, intensive conditioning and repair product for after lash lifting. Was one of the first of its kind in the world where we were using this 4-PCA dimethicone in the formulation. And that particular ingredient, it's a proprietary blend with a few other materials, but the clinical studies that this company had, performed with this product were really quite amazing. And there's not many in the world that have hit that kind of standard yet. But what this material allowed us to do is help restore the disulfide bonds of lashes during the lash lift process. So essentially, that means stronger lashes, healthier lashes after that chemical treatment. But we also combined it with a special additive called Keraveg, which has been in the industry for quite some time. And it's a vegan alternative to keratin. And the clinical trials and scientific tests with this material have shown that it strengthens the hair by 21% after chemical treatments and mimics the effects of hydrolyzed keratin. And obviously, it's vegan, so that's a great place to go with products in this day and age. So finding things for formulas, I mean, yeah, it's about networking with the right people, and that's what we do. We are going to, the Australian Society of Cosmetic Chemists conferences in cosmetics. I'll go to those places and nerd out there on the latest materials, and that's where all people like us go, right, Steph? Where we want to see the new ingredients that are coming out for skin products and hair products, and um, and also there's some great innovations happening now with sustainability as well, and trying to have materials that are more waterless, for example, and using less water in emulsions and formulations and things like that, or ethically sourced, glycerin, and things like this that are quite important to have in your products for the sustainability of Earth and for future generations. So we're very, attached to trying to adapt as much as we can in the sustainability culture as well with materials. Yeah, there's a lot of inspiration you can grab out there. Sure, you can jump on Google, but when you dive a little deeper, and you know where to look, yeah, there's some very inspirational raw material developers out there that are bringing some great innovations to the industry. So the ear is to the ground, the eye is to the screen, and we're definitely, in touch with that side of the industry.
I love that. And sometimes people out there will be thinking, oh, well, you're right. You can Google it. You can find great, incredible ingredients out there. A lot of the times it's also about how you combine and formulate with those ingredients that
Mhm.
actually produces the result. So it's not as easy as, hey, that's an all right ingredient. I'll just shove it in my formulation. It doesn't
Mm,
really work that way, we know.
that's right.
It is all about working in symbiosis with your complementary ingredients and how you formulate it, and what base it's in and how active it is and how far it penetrates into your skin or hair, and what the effectiveness of it is, the efficacy. It's just the amount of care and time that you put into that, Otto, is why your brand is where it is, because it is not a flash in the pan brand. Obviously, it is an incredibly well thought out, well structured, extremely deliberate in what you do, in every part of what you do. We're talking about ingredients, we talked about formulation, safety, the process of it, and ingredients. And now we're at the stage where I would love to talk about the final products. I'm sure you've got some new releases happening and there are new innovations and trends in the market. Can you tell us a little bit about that and give us a preview?
Oh, yes. Well, again, it's hard for me to speak exactly about what we're releasing because it's such a fast-paced industry, and especially in our part of the industry, a lot of people are just jumping on board what the leaders do. And look, that's the way it works in any part of the beauty industry, in the car industry, in any industry at all.
And you
Yeah,
also get, sorry to interrupt you, but you also get a lot of what's happening now, dupes
that's
in the
right.
market, which is yep, everybody's listening, please stay away from dupes. They're not
Mm.
the real thing. But yeah, keep going, Otto. It's fascinating.
Yes, of course. Well, we are always looking, what I can say is looking at different sorts of systems and ways we can make the treatments more efficient for our salon partners as well. So diving deep into that at the moment, yeah, on efficiency, which comes in a number of ways with tools and materials and formulations. I can say we've been working a bit more on the brow sector as well, a little bit, which is exciting. We were quite heavily involved in that and have been with tinting and coloration for many years, but we have some new developments there, which I'm very excited about. That'll be dropping very soon. October is looking like the release date for that. So stay tuned to the Elleebana Instagram for more information
Oh,
about what is
right around the
happening with that.
corner.
We do plan on doing a little launch in London, of all places.
Am
And
I
doing,
invited?
yeah, of course, you're invited. You can come along with me, Steph, of course. We're doing this event at a beautiful hotel in London, Royal Horse Guards Hotel, in October. So yeah, the plan is to do a few special little launches there while we're in London. Everything is coming along well with the product development side of things, so we're happy with that. And Look, there is just a lot of trends and things that we're looking at with also research. I'm getting really interested. I mean, I've been doing that for a long time, but I'm looking at other ways that we can dive deeper into sharing some truths to our industry. And Elleebana has become a bit of an education hub, for lack of better explanation there. But I have said to all of our team that on our Instagram and YouTube, it sort of started with me doing a lot of the education videos, but over the years, I've tried to really build this collaborative project with my educators so that it's not just Otto speaking all the time. It's a collection of really well-educated people with their thoughts and opinions, and obviously their guidance on what we're doing with technique or ingredients, or helping people get better results. One of my projects that I'm working on this year is just diving deeper into the research about how these particular ingredients work on lashes, and getting that out there to a wider audience and sort of busting a few myths, or showing people how you can stack the cards in your favor when you're doing certain types of testing, or how you test more truthfully with certain parameters and things like that, such as moisture in lashes and absorption, or boosting volume in lashes. I mean, a lot of people out there don't realize that just wetting your lashes will boost the volume by 20% instantly with water. So there's a lot of claims out there where it's going to boost the volume and, the thickness. And sure, it does, but so do a lot of things. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So there is benefits. There's a lot of benefits with a lot of the materials that are coming out there, but there's a lot that people don't understand about also the marketing fluff that happens in our industry with formulations and ingredients. And just because you have a peptide in there doesn't mean it's going to, grow your lashes all the time. There's a lot of factors like percentages, like how it's applied, like the individual, some of those, hair growth style peptides don't even work on some people, so it's just the reality of the industry and how ingredients work in the beauty industry. And, so I'm working closely with a doctor at a university with some projects there, which I'm really excited to sort of share a bit more about next year. It's a huge investment doing these kinds of tests. Of course, we're lucky at Elleebana that we've been supported so much by a lot of our salon partners and distributors. So I like to just really take that, ability that we have to invest back into our industry and our culture, and really get the truth out there. And obviously that helps, with the transparency of, Elleebana and what we stand for. And sure, we make great products that have great benefits. And but we really want to get that information out there as well. And talking about mascara, how much does that boost lashes instantly? That does do things, and that is a real benefit for people. Um, you know, that's what we're in the business of, is having these instant gratification treatments where clients walk out the door seeing an incredible result straight away.
Yeah.
So it's important that people understand exactly what they're getting. So they can explain that even better to their clients when they have these services. So I'm sharing that quite openly that, we're working on a lot of projects with that. But of course, every year, Elleebana has new types of products and tools and things that we bring to the industry, and education as well. So stay tuned to the Elleebana Gram. That's usually where we post a lot of things. We do have a TikTok that's probably a little bit more fun. We're a little late to the game on that, but we're having fun with it,
Is it
which I
doing
think is
well?
important.
It's
Well,
a
it's
mystery
just,
to me, the TikTok
look,
world.
it's TikTok. And I don't personally, I have a TikTok. I think I did one post a long time ago of our dog running through the hallway and then leaping into Zoe's arms and doing the like dirty dancing move,
Oh,
where it sort of just flies above her head and balances.
did it
And
go
that's,
viral?
you got a few thousand views or something. No.
Nice, nice, nice.
But I've been very focused behind the scenes, and then of course on the front lines doing our classes. But social media, I do try and jump on and share quite a bit where I can, and it's always really positive. But Instagram is a great spot, and our YouTube, where you'll see some in-depth education that has really been helping lash artists. And an interesting observation at our class the other day that I'd like to share is we had a real mix of people using different types of lash lifting brands there. And some were newbies to the industry, some were experienced with like 4 or more years of doing these kinds of services. And the art of lash lifting is harder than people might think. You watch it on YouTube or online, and yeah, I'm just putting lotions on top of the lashes, and putting the shield in place. How hard can this be, right? And there is just so much more to it with the technique and understanding the hair texture and how the formula works with the lashes. And what I was noticing in this class is that some of the more experienced people were even struggling more than some of the beginners. And, just with little things, that well, I guess I call them little things, but I do this every day. They do have, technical aspects to them. These changes that you can make to your application can make a big difference. So we're doing a lot of work with technique at the moment on our Instagram. So anybody that is ever struggling with getting consistent results with lash lifts should know that they should come to Elleebana, of course, DM us or check out our page, because there's so much information on there to help you get more consistent results with these treatments. So yeah, flying the flag for that heavily over the last few years, but definitely for the years ahead too.
Yeah, I love that. And what you just said is extremely important because what you do, it's not just the product, it is the technique. And a lot of times you hear, oh, I didn't get the result, or, oh, this didn't happen for me, or I'm constantly finding this problem. And
Mm.
rather than go to the source and try to get educated, I do feel sometimes when we've been in the industry for a long time, we think, oh no, we know how to do this.
Yeah.
But there are so many things to learn, and we're constantly learning and evolving, and there's new tricks, there's new techniques, there's new formulas out there. So it really is so important, that constant education. And of course, ABIC is a real advocate for CPD training in our industry, constantly bringing up your skills, constantly learning and innovating, because what we do provide is a service. It's not just the product, it is the technique, it's the combination of both. And it's so important, if you're listening now, if you have a problem or an issue with any products that you have in your stable of products, you really need to reach out to the supplier and say, okay, these are the hurdles we're encountering. And I guarantee they'll be able to work together to actually resolve them. It's a very key, important thing that you've just brought up.
Yeah, it's so important. And a lot of people think if I go to the supplier, they're just going to tell me, what they want, out of this outcome. They're not listening to me. But at Elleebana, we do have a very strict process when we're helping customers with customer support or client support. And it's always diving really deep into the technique, but we always get lotions back and test them as well from people. If they said product wasn't working, generally we're just replacing it. No questions asked straight away that, yes, we'll take care of that, to assess it ourselves. Even though we do all this
Mm.
strenuous testing anyway before we release batches, we still don't want to put our heads in the sand and think, well, nothing, once that product's out of our hands and out in the world, maybe something did happen to that product. So we need to get that back. We need to test it. We need to see, if we're getting good results with that as well. I'll honestly say every single time we get a product back, we get it to work. So it's quite interesting how tricky it is in the lash lift industry with glue barriers that are created
Right.
from different types of adhesive that we use, which stop the penetration of lotions. Reading lash texture is a huge one, and understanding how, even though a lash looks thin, it can process quickly or it can process in a long time. And
Mm.
there's these things called flex checks and set checks that we do during the lotion steps to see that the lotions are working. But there's tricks around doing that correctly. Of course, the shield placement, making sure you use the correct type for the correct lash type. Some people might say, I'm getting an underwhelming lift, it hasn't curled enough. I did 6 minutes and 5 minutes. I've done that before, it worked well. Why isn't it working now?
Right.
It should. I even did this on the same client before, and it's not working now. And clients' hair texture changes. Returning
Yes.
clients' hair texture changes due to environments, diets, hormones, lots of different reasons. And then we need to look at the application as well. So we've got this one formula that has to work very consistently, well, as good as it can across lots of different hair types. And if you think one vitamin C, the skin serum, has to work well over a wide variety of skin types, you're going to see a difference in result and have to change up the application or use a different product, and same sort of thing happens in the lash lift industry, but it's interesting how so many people in the industry still aren't aware of some of those key factors. So we really push that heavily in our education, on our gram. And once you get these fundamental pillars and steps to getting the treatment correct and you understand how to do those right, you minimize the chances of having these inconsistent results. But it takes practice.
I just want to thank you so much, Otto, for being an incredible foundation member of ABIC and such a supporter of the industry. We thank you honestly, wholeheartedly, especially in these times where our industry is going through such a flux. It's wonderful to know that we have support of people such as yourself that understand the benefit of actually getting together and have a stronger voice, of putting out their incredibly quality products, which we as ABIC endorse. And thank you so much for giving us your time so generously in this podcast.
It is my absolute pleasure, Steph. We love working with ABIC. Ever since it came about, we just knew that this association was a lot different to other ones that have been around in the past. And there's a lot of substance and a lot of amazing leaders in the industry that are associated with this, such as yourself, and people that are just so passionate about flying the flag for what matters in our industry and actually doing something about it. So definitely something that we need to spread the word about to our industry, because this association really does pave the way for where we need to go. So thanks for having me as well. It's always a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you everyone for listening today. You've reached the end of another episode of the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.